Do you know what I like to do after I tear my closet apart and I'm in the middle of organizing it? Well, I like to take a little break and I like to look at some baseball cards instead. All right, guys. So I did a collaboration. I was on the Sports Card Dad's channel. We had a nice hobby discussion and it aired this morning. So it's up if you haven't seen it. You know, I find it funny. Anytime, I talk about the hobby or, maybe things I don't like in the hobby, or I speak out on grading, it's like the common response to me is, why do you care what happens in the hobby? That's not part of the hobby you participate in. Or why do you care what happens with grading? Because you don't grade cards. You shouldn't care. And I find that very myopic and ignorant and absurd. Because if I participate in the hobby, shouldn't I care about it? I mean, if you are a professional, don't you have organizations for your industry? Every industry has organizations, and they try to make that industry better. They try to protect, people from bad actors in the industry. We have, a dental association for dentists. We have a wireless association for people in the wireless industry. There's a real estate association. There's always an association. I don't know how you can be in a hobby and not care about it and not care, what happens to people. It just kind of blows my mind because it will affect you one way or another eventually. That's what happens. It's our hobby. And so if you don't like something about it, I mean, you can't just go, you could just, I guess you could go to another hobby. But if you want to stay in the hobby and there are things you don't like, and maybe there's something you could do about it, I don't know. But it's certainly okay to give your opinion. We are all the hobby, and we want the hobby to be a good place. That said, all right, guys, I want to show you. I want to show you some stamps. As the prices of the big Hall of Famers and the big cards get higher and higher, the one thing that hasn't gone up much are the stamps. And they're fun to collect, and you can get the great players. They made a series of stamps over the years. Topps made them in 1961 and 62. Bazooka made them in 1964. Topps made them again in 69 and again in 74. And then, of course, later on, they had all kind of stickers and stamps. But those are the main ones off the top of my head now. And, of course, pre-war, there were stamps. You had the Pep stamps and others. There were the Halmar stamps, I believe they were called, that are really rare. And, some of these are really cool, and there's some great players on them. Now, when it comes to stamps and grading, I don't know how they go about grading these things, but oftentimes to me, I have lower grade stamps that look way better than higher grade stamps. They're pretty tough on these, I guess, for the backs. Sometimes maybe they were stuck to something and you can't see it, but with the eye, but they'll catch it. I have this Hank Aaron here, and it's a 2. I have another one that's a 5, and this one's way nicer. And I think, just to give you an example of what I'm talking about, there's like a little spot right there. But it's, a beautiful example. It's well centered. And these cost you next to nothing. These stamps are awesome. In 61, Juan Marichал's rookie season, he had a stamp. Roger Maris broke the single season home run record. He had a stamp. he was chased by Mickey Mantle. He had a stamp. Beautiful stamp there. It's probably my favorite one in this set. You can still find them attached. There's Frank Robinson and Jim Mudcat Grant. Here's an Ernie Banks. Willie McCovey. Duke Snider. Man, I just got done working out. I'm having trouble holding these up. You know, if you walk out of the gym and you can't get beaten up by a 9-year-old girl, you did not work your muscles hard enough. Here's a Frank Robinson single. A great Bill Mazeroski. This is one of my favorites in the set, too. I love the Maz. Billy Martin. I just showed this. It was a gift from the Uncle Gary collection. Dick Stewart. Smokey Burgess. Here's Richie Ashburn. Orlando Cepeda. Harmon Killebrew. And here's a Harmon Killebrew with Bill Stafford. And I just wanted to point out, because, you know, I have some of these in my holders. And if you're like me and you keep your cards like this, BCW, I've mentioned it before, they make these card inserts. Unfortunately, these are the only two sizes they make. They make them for the 48 to 50 Bowman cards, and they make them for tobacco cards. But you can use these for a lot of other cards and stamps and stuff like this. They are meant to be precise, but, you know, if you put a stamp in here, it holds it nicely, and there's enough room that you can get it in there, you know, easily and safely. But a lot of odd-sized cards will fit in these. So this is what I use inside my Mag Pros. So, hey, that's what I have for you. What are your thoughts? Should you bury your head in the sand, or should you care about the hobby? I don't know. Thanks for hanging out with me. I gots to go.